Welcome everybody. It's great to have you here today. Once again, we're going to be looking at Enterprise Architect Trerado. Today we're going to be looking at using Collaborator, and we're going to be creating some dashboard widgets once again. And today we're going to be looking at how to create a dashboard widget for a chart. My name's Scott Hebbard. I'm joined by Stephen Maguire, and I understand today that we're going to look at creating a business process activity, and I'm really keen to see how we go about it. So welcome, Stephen.
Thank you, Scott, and thank you for the introduction. Always a pleasure to be here. And yes, we are going to be looking at Trerado Collaborator, the visualization for our models and our corporate information. We can start here by clicking on Collaborator, open the project there. And I happen to have this open already, so I'm going to click on that tab. It's open there, and you can see that when we come into a dashboard. Just want to take a couple of seconds, a couple of minutes just to talk about the dashboard again. It is the entry point for users and groups, and each user or each group can have their own dashboard. In fact, any number of them. So we have executive stakeholders, a very common stakeholder for the Trerado Collaborator platform, where these people are time poor, they've got a lot on their plate, and they need information packaged up and ready to consume. And so you can see across the top here, we've got a number of cards, percentage of supportive stakeholders. We've had a look at this in previous examples, goal achievement, and they can also look at diagrams or summary views. But we also have a number of other users, Scott, and they might want to look at information in more detail. So we looked at creating some diagrams before, some information in rich text format, but now we're going to turn our attention to creating some charts, which is a very common way to visualize information and summarize it up. And remember, it's a narrative. We're creating a story. We want to get information across to our users as quickly as possible and in the format that they want. So typically you might have a stakeholder meeting with some stakeholders and say, hey, how do you want this information presented? And let's imagine we had that and they said, look, pie charts are very simple to understand. So we want to have a look at business process activities by status. And so when we look at that, we can see a pie chart there, and that's what we're going to do today. The pie chart's got colors on it. It's got some percentages there as well. And we've got on the side there, we've got the actual statuses. And we're back in again, Scott. So it's just timing out there. I haven't used it for a little bit. So let's go and create this chart. Now, this was in our repository that's already been a dashboard that's already been built, and we're going to build this up. So Scott, I'm going to change to a different repository, and I'm simply going to do that as an administrator. I have the right, the permissions to do that. A lot of users won't have that. They'll be assigned to a particular repository. But here's the one that we started in earlier videos. And if you haven't seen the earlier videos, I encourage you to go back. Not necessary to go back right now. This doesn't build upon that information specifically, but it's going to be useful to go back and look at these videos. So here's our dashboard, the Welcome to the Arcassurance Home dashboard. I want to add a widget, and so I simply go into the edit mode. Not all users will have permission to do this, but they may, depending upon who it is. Executives pretty typically wouldn't have that, that privilege showing there. Let's go and edit though, and let's go into our favorite Add Widget plus button down here in the bottom right-hand corner. So I click on that, and I say Add New. I can do things from a library, Scott. We're not doing that at the moment. That will be covered in a later video. Let's just go Add New here, and we get up this list of widgets, and we're going to choose a widget type.
So you can see charts in the middle there. So
yeah, you've spotted it, Scott. That's the one. Let's click on it, and again we can go Add Widget from the bottom there, or we can just hit the plus button here and say let's add a widget. Now look what's happened. I can choose to run this from a report, but we don't have any reports built at the moment. We will have in later videos, but we can just skip over this at the moment. But that sort of creates a little bit of a shortcut to getting to the information. But we're going to do things from first principles. I always like to do that. So now we get a list of different charts. And so we've got, choose a chart type here. We've got pie, column, heat map, whole lot of them. And, we're going to cover these in different videos, Scott. But let's choose pie chart for the moment, and we're going to choose that one. And again, we'll say now we need to tell Collaborator what we want included in here. So we're going to look at business modeling extensions. So this is where you sort of require, we can search for things there, but let's just assume that someone knows a little bit about the repository, and we're going to go down to some business process diagrams down here. So these have come up, Scott, because they've been created in the Trerado Designer. They might have been imported, or from other things. But you can import them from Visio diagrams, or they might have come in from spreadsheets or any other way. But let's look at this, and we're going to choose these two here. So there's a whole range of them. If we look underneath, each one of those has got a number of other activities. So if you visualize this on a diagram, you can imagine a bunch of activities, and we come to a decision point here, like a gateway, and then we've got some starting points and end points. So let's just say we want the develop products one, and I'll just collapse that down, and we want the market and sell products. So we'll close that one as well. So we've left a number of them out. We're just focusing on those. So we've got those selected. Now, Scott, we need to go over and tell the designer configuration what we're specifically looking at. And we are just looking at activities, right? We don't want decisions or decision gateways or events in there. So let's just choose activity there. And now let's not bother filtering by anything, but we want to build our chart based on. Now we can do it on tag values or basic properties. So if I go to basic properties, we'll see that these are the properties that are part of Trerado Designer.
Tag values allow you to create your own custom properties that you could create a chart on. So you might have requirements and have a specific attribute, such as which ones are pink and which ones are orange.
Well, yeah, or volatility or something, how stable the requirement is, right? So yeah, it could be anything. That's it literally could be a color. It could be anything at all. If I look at that, if I go into the tag values one, what we're going to see is that there's a whole range of things here that are coming from the BPMN spec. So you may want to use some of these, but let's just say
you can create your own.
You can create your own as well, and we'll look at that in a later video. Where you can create, where we've created your own, and you can do this. So let's choose basic properties there.
Yep.
And let's choose one of the basic properties, and we're going to look at status. Yeah. So with the process, we've selected a source, and we said, okay, then we've selected which particular types of elements we want in there, and we haven't bothered specifying a stereotype at the moment. We'll look at that again in another video. Let's go next there. Just close your eyes if you're not a technical person, because this magic has done it for you. It's set up all of this. But if you are technical, you can look at this code, and you can even look at it, copying the query or executing it. But let's just jump over that for the moment. Let's pretend that we're not particularly interested in what it's done. It's done the magic for us. We'll go next there, and here we've got enter the chart name, right? So let's skip over that for the moment, because we're going to put a title on our widget, and let's just look at some of these options. So show the legend over here, you can see open or close. Let's turn that off and go refresh chart, and you can see that legend's gone now. But we do want to show the legend. Do we want to float it? Let's not float it. Legend ellipses, worry about that. Legend position, so we'll put that back on again, and we'll say, look, let's just go bottom, and again refresh that, and you can see that's happening. So let's go for the side. Just want to keep refreshing what you can do. The label position, so it's inside. So this is the percentage for each one of the slices or sectors of the pie. So let's go outside and refresh that again. This gives us a way of kind of just looking at it first and going, hey, what's going to be useful. Let's go.
You can change the look and feel of your chart, and make sure all of your charts are consistent throughout your dashboard.
Yeah. So you see over here, there's 3 different tabs. So there's general settings, there's pie settings. This is going to tell us the font to use, and the display label settings. So again, we can do some things there. We can format numbers. We can do some prefixes and suffixes and things. But let's not worry about that. Let's go back now and save that. And now we want to use the same color pattern here. So I'm going to choose that color from here. And just showing you again from first principles how we're doing this. We just close that guy there. And so there were 2 things we can do. We can configure the chart itself, or we can configure the title bar, right? So let's do that, and let's put this one in there, and let's go on our title color, let's go for this blue here, and again, we'll save that. Is that looking bright enough? I think we went white on the other one. So yeah, that looks a little bit better. So you can play with it there and figure out one of the best colors. That's going to work for us. And we need a title for the widget. Let's call it process activities. We won't worry about putting in by status. We won't worry about putting in and I've made an error there in the spelling, so let's just fix that up. It's automatically online for you. By status, we do probably need to qualify that by that it's a particular, developed product. So I'll just, put that in developed products. So you can come up with your own labels here by status. So now we've done that, everything should be good to go. We've saved our chart. Now we need to save the dashboard. So we'll save that. And let's have a look and see what's happened. So we've got our pie chart.
So is that getting those results from live data?
Absolutely, Scott. That's exactly where it's coming from. So it's live data. And if I look at this, I can, say that's approved, that's implemented, proposed, validated, which becomes kind of useful to look at it. I'm going to do one thing, Scott, that we didn't do, and we talked about this before. Let's take up a bit of room on my dashboard, and I just wanted to see what it looks like. So there is this kind of iteration that you go through when you're creating these things. Let's move it and put it underneath this one. You can see, remember the cells that pop up, and just click that in there, and we're coming underneath that. Let's just bring it in a little bit as well.
Yeah, you can make it a bit thinner to match with what's above.
Exactly. Yep. So it starts to, we've got these cells here, starts to looking, okay, that's not how it will look. It'll shrink down in the interface is kind of clever, and it's going to save that. But that looks okay. Coming down on our dashboard now, there it is. Now, in answer to your question that you asked about that, let's have a look at this and say, look, I'm really interested in all these ones that are validated. Well, actually, let's look at that, and we'll click on that. And you see now what happens. Scott, the chart comes up, but I've entered into a different sort of a mode now where what it's displaying is the ones here that are validated. So you can see applied filters series validated, right?
Yeah.
Display columns, 57 columns selected. So I've got a huge number of columns because remember all those values that were in there for all those tags that come from the BPMN. So I can just turn that off for the minute and just go, I want the name. Let's go activity type, and let's not worry about author, and let's go documentation. And we don't have any. I'll see whether we've got documents on those things. I would have thought we would have had. Yeah, we have got those documentations there. It's not popping up in that window, but that's just a little aberration. But there it is there, and we can now look at these things and say that we can change some of the properties on here. So, I can change the author, I can change the name, I can enter in, change this documentation. And if I wanted to, I can go into a different set and say, look, give me all the ones now that are approved. And so again, I can click on these, comes up in here. And it's not just the property, Scott. If you look at this little drop down here, we've got discussions and usage and traceability. Let's have a look at traceability. It's owned by developed products. It's sequence flow to market viable, sequence flow to product request. So lots of things that we can do there, Scott, to change that. So we can hide the chart there as well. We've got a refresh button. So if we were to change one of the things like the status, then we would be able to refresh that chart. I can close this at any time. I can go back to my dashboard. So I'll just go back there and back again. And let's just go straight to our dashboard from here. And there we are. There's our dashboard. And we've got, we've got our pie chart built. Yeah. So again, it's telling a story. I encourage people to have a conversation first with the people that are going to be the consumers of this. Who's the audience? Imagine that you're creating a movie. You need to know who your audience is, what kind of things you want to display, what narrative you want to talk about. Don't just jump into this and say, oh, I can create any of these things at all. I'm just going to start creating all sorts of different widgets, because there are so many different widgets in there and so many different charts and representations. You need to make it specific to your audience, and remembering that this is just one dashboard, and we're starting with this because we want to just get a lot of messages across with the dashboard and say, look, here's how you create a dashboard. But remember, we might have a specific dashboard for a specific audience, particularly executives, for example. So we'll cover that a little bit later. And Scott, we can change the colors of these if we need to. That's again going to be the topic of another video. But that's it for your first chart in Collaborator. And we've seen how it links back, and as you rightly said, Scott, it links back to the data itself, right? It's not just a pretty picture. It is literally showing you real time, exactly what's happening in your repository.
Thanks, Stephen. I think it was really easy to create that chart. You were able to say what was included. You're able to pick basic properties or tagged values, and it just does all the hard work for you. And then you can drill down into that chart if you want to explore further. So it's really a great way of telling stories and being able to visualize information very quickly and easily. So thank you for showing us how easy that was in Collaborator. For our audience, if you'd like to view more series and see how you can create other types of dashboards within Collaborator, or if you'd like to learn more about other Sparx Systems products, you can visit sparxsystems.com, or you can visit the Sparx Systems YouTube channel to see many more videos than what we've shown today. If you want to reach out to Stephen, his contact details are in the video description below. And as always, thank you, Stephen, for showing us how easy it is to create a chart in Collaborator and how to create dashboards that tell compelling stories. So thank you.
Always a pleasure, Scott.